What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We have something a little different for you here today. I decided to jump on iRacing and I hopped into an MX5 race because it's been just that long since I've done one and it looks like a lot of fun. It's around VIR, the shortened version, and it turns out to be an absolute banger. We practice our avoidance skills and we try and get a little more consistent lap to lap and trying to not make mistakes or any unnecessary aggressive moves. I did not record this while it was going on, so that's why I'm recording it after the fact. So it's going to do something a little different to what we normally do with these videos. I'm going to be doing, for the first time in a while, a voiceover for this video. So I hope you enjoy it. Hopefully it turns out just as good as I hope. But if you haven't already, subscribe down below. Leave a comment down below what your favorite series is in iRacing. I'm really torn whenever I think about this, so I'm curious of what you guys think. Leave a like if you enjoy the video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload. But let's go ahead, let's head over to VoiceOver Me and get this thing started. What's going on, guys? As I mentioned in the intro, we're doing a little bit of voiceover work here in this one. So unfortunately, that also means that I did not have the overlay of the race. So we're gonna make the most of it, and we're going to just do our best here to talk about this one because I had a lot of fun. We actually managed to survive pretty well around the first corner. I kind of expected a lot of damage going on through here, but everyone tiptoed their way through. We kind of tried to hang it around the outside before we realized that that wasn't really gonna stick. At this point, we are still definitely focused on our goal of, trying to be advantageous, but not make any too many aggressive moves just to try and, make it through. The age-old says, if you want, if you want to finish first you must finish. If you want to finish first you must finish. I got there in the end. Don't worry about it. We saw our first death there coming out of the left-hander there. People tended to get on the gas very early in this one, and you'll see it come up a lot as we make our way down. Not all the way. This is not the full course. This is the north course. And we see another half spin there, a full spin off to the right, and we are making up positions by doing essentially nothing. We find ourselves sitting here behind the 12 car, that purple and bright yellow. We're going to be seeing a lot of it. He ends up hanging out around us most of this race. And if you noticed, as he dove up the inside of us there on our way up the hill, he was very aggressive in this race. And we definitely took note of that almost immediately and vowed basically to avoid him in tough situations, because you can even see there giving the 4 car a little bit of a tap, and around the 4 car goes, and we're up another position. At this point, finishing the first lap, I knew I didn't want to get into any tight scraps with this guy, because it looks like he's definitely taking a take no prisoners style here as we finish the first lap and start lap number 2. At this point, we've made up quite a few positions, but that said, we encounter our actual major crash here. You can see a Constantina effect, very much like Lance Stroll around China this year in F1. Some people just did not brake in time, and a lot of damage went through on that one. That's kind of a lot of the stuff that I expected on turn 1 in lap 1, but we actually made it a full lap before lap 2 inevitably gave us the carnage that we desired here. But now we're trying to settle in here a little bit, trying to warm up the tires, trying to settle in and start to take advantage when we can. We're making our way down here. I'm going to refer to it as the back straight. It's a pretty short back straight. Kind of taking a peek, not really looking to make a move, but just trying to make sure that they are aware of us there, and also to cover off anything from us behind. I did find this little, S section here one of my favorite parts of this race, especially once you kind of get into the flow of it. It really was a lot of fun to try and transfer the weight the most efficiently before hitting this hard braking zone downhill right-hander down towards the final corner and starting lap 3. But this is a 9-lap race here around VIR, the North Circuit. I kind of wish it was the full circuit. I do really enjoy VIR. The full circuit, the run towards the back straight is probably one of my favorite stretches in iRacing, but we make the most of it here. We definitely were a little timid in the first few laps here because I jumped into this race about 3 minutes before it started, got a couple of laps of practice in, and then we made our way onto the grid. We ended up qualifying P10 out of 12 cars when I actually did qualify, and I think that really just went to show that we really didn't have the pace to, truly extend a gap. So at this point, we were really just focused on not making any major mistakes, trying to stick with a pack and taking advantage of the slipstream when we were able to. One thing I'm really wishing that iRacing would do is on the replay system, give you the option to turn on the HUD just to give us more information. I'm recording this essentially right after this race ended, but I already can't really remember where we were. We ran in the top 5 most of this race. I believe at this point we are in P4. So we're chasing P3 and P2. The guy in P1 was head and shoulders. You can actually see him there a little bit. Already making his way down the pit straight. He was in another level here. You'll see it when we get to the results screen at the end. As the green and white car ahead makes a mistake, goes off the final corner, and we get another easy position without having to do anything. Those are the positions that we're really waiting on and taking advantage of those when we can. But as I was saying, yeah, the guy who led this race, and spoiler alert, actually does end up winning this race, was running an average lap time of about 1.5 seconds faster than everyone else. As we see the car ahead of us once again coming out of the tricky turn 1 here at VIR, just getting on the throttle a little too much, big old tank slapper, and off he goes. And all of a sudden, we are here running in P2 for the first time in a long while. I've been really, addicted to the 992 Cup car here recently, and going back to the MX5 was something I was really excited about. And I've noticed that it took me a little bit to kind of get back up to speed. I found myself relying back on my on the Porsche driving mechanics that I really picked up on, and my habits of have definitely started to revolve around that car more than the others. So it took me a little bit of time to get used to the MX5, but at the same time, it was so much fun to get back behind the wheel of the MX5. It was a lot more slidey than I remember. I don't know if that was a me issue or a car issue. Chances are it was definitely just a skill issue on my part, but it drove much differently than the 992, obviously, because one is a Porsche Cup car and the other is an MX5 Cup car. But we got into a little bit of a groove here, and our main focus here was to not make any major mistakes. I could also definitely feel myself starting to get a little nervous here. We're running in P2. P1 has absolutely just left us in the distance. And so at this point, we are basically fighting for P2 as our win. And when you start P10 on the grid, it starts to get to you a little bit. We carry a little too much speed and run. And that's what you call foreshadowing, folks. I made a mistake. Tried to carry too much speed through turn 1, ended up going off, taking our first incident of the race, and you can see our pesky friend, the 12 car, overtakes us, and then eventually the number 7 car, our old friend, the white and green car as well. And we find ourselves back in the pack once again in P4, trying to chase down this pack. Now, I will say, I brought up the 12 car is definitely a car to keep an eye on over the course of this race. The kid was rapid. I call him a kid. I apologize for that if it could literally be anyone. But that person was absolutely rapid in this one. But he was definitely prone to making some very aggressive moves, some very aggressive driving standards. And he definitely made some mistakes along the way. That's how we got past him the first time. And you can see now that he is just absolutely rapid through this section. A lot more than us, that is for sure. I always struggle through this one as well. I've always struggled at VIR, and just specifically that corner. It's an uphill braking zone into a downhill off camber braking zone, and I just can never really seem to get it right. But at the same time, we are not worried about that. We are moving on here as we try and catch back up to the 7 car and the 12 car. I was starting to debate here how aggressive I wanted to try and be. I think finishing P4 here would actually have been a very solid result. I was the number 3 car in this race, and so I definitely was had that on my mind as we made our way through this one. Understanding that starting P10 and finishing P4 would definitely result in positive iRating gain, and I think it would definitely be a solid result, because the 2 ahead definitely seemed to be much more practiced at this one. The 12 car, especially through that back section, was light years ahead of me where I was at. But at the same time, we're trying to do our best here, and at some point we decide that the 7 car we were able to keep up with a lot earlier. You can see there that he just makes those kinds of mistakes, push a little too hard, and we can take advantage of his loss of momentum to go around the outside, and we cover off the move a little bit here. Really trying to carry as much speed as possible, and off we go once again, chasing that that fluorescent yellow car of the number 12. And it definitely was a moment in this race that I was kind of talking about, where I wanted to try and put the 7 car away, but at the same time I didn't want to overdrive the car and make more mistakes. You can see through there I'm actually washing very wide with the understeer. Definitely feel like I was cooking the tires just a little bit. We're also, more than a handful of laps in this one, so the tires are definitely starting it up to temperature and potentially starting to go off. You really start to feel the fall off of the tires in this one towards the end, especially with that back section. A lot of the required grip you demand from the tires through there to go, the quick lefts back to right onto the brakes, and trying to really just put a lot onto those tires. It definitely makes them go off quite quickly, I would say. And here I make the same mistake I made before. I really tried to save getting an incident point there. I really would feel like I was close. I basically sacrificed the position to try not get an incident point, and got it one anyway, and still lost the position. So the number 7 car and I are having a fun little battle in this one, where we each take turns making mistakes and then trying to capitalize on the others. But at the same time, that's exactly what I love about the MX5. It definitely is a breeding ground of close racing and trying to take advantage where you can. At the same time, I definitely at this point was sure that the 12 car was off to the races here, because I knew I was going to be battling the 7 car basically to the end, until you crest the hill and you see the 12 car off to the right. He went nice and round, and we move up past him once again. I told you that he was definitely a type of person who was trying to push a little too hard sometimes and was prone to those mistakes. And it's going to cost him here in this one, as the number 7 and I move past him once again with only a couple laps remaining here. We're trying to, at this point, just secure our spot here a little bit. We had a few second gap back to P12, to the number 12. But at the same time, I knew how rapid he really was, so I definitely knew I needed to, take my driving in this one to the next level and try and secure that gap with only a few laps remaining here. The only question I really had at this point was, I had almost tried to secure a podium, but do we want to actually push for P2 in this one? You can see me there really just trying to get in the head of the 7 car. This is something I've been trying to do more of, not necessarily committing to a move, but really making the car ahead, think about what's going on, and potentially bait them into making a little bit of a mistake themselves. It didn't work on that one, but I know we are definitely on their mind at this point, as we really try and take advantage of being quicker through this section. I think I was really pretty good at getting the rotation of the car here. Now, at the same time, I think I was pretty timid with the throttle throughout this race, and I definitely lost and left a lot of lap time on the board here. Every single lap, just trying to really make sure not to get too much oversteer, to try and if I want to battle for P2 here, I need to be there, and a spin or a mistake like that really just throws it out the window. So I'd rather be a little bit more timid and be consistently that way than try and overdrive myself and make the mistakes. But at this point, we are definitely following the 7 car through, hopefully to the end, as we're coming up here on the last couple of laps. I was really interested in this line the 7 car was taking through that tight right-hander downhill. He ended up taking a very late apex, really getting wide there on the left to try and straighten out the corner. And I couldn't tell if it really was a better line. It definitely was more interesting, and I'm sure it probably felt a little easier than trying to really hug the inside line. I think if you did it right, you could definitely probably do a combination of his and my line and carry a lot more speed. But at this point, I was too focused. And you can see me making a move up the inside, trying to be last on the brakes. I got a little early on the brakes there. We park it on the apex. And at this point, we are in P2, and not only are we in P2, the number 7 makes a mistake of his own, and we are off to the races here. It is a miracle, and exactly what I like to talk about. Getting on the gas too early coming out of a corner like that will be a death sentence, and sometimes you just have to be smooth but slow to really get the job done. As we now charge through here, trying to, once again, secure our position on track, and trying to finish here P2. P1, I think at this point was 20-something seconds up the road, and so it really was off the table. This was P2 or nothing here. As we're coming around here to the uphill right-hander, I really did learn to really enjoy that corner through here. I also fully recognized that I was not the best at taking it at the speed, really, that the car was definitely capable of taking it at. I'll learn as we continue to go on. I'm really enjoying getting back into some other series that I kind of, let fall to the wayside here as I try to, continue to commit to the 992 Cup car. And so I really, really enjoyed jumping into this race. It was so much fun. As we round the final corner here to go back up to the start-finish line in P2, one of my better laps, I would say. A nice move into turn 1 and being very solid through the end here. And that's it. We end up coming home to finish here in this one in P2. One of my better results here in a little bit. The Porsche Cup has definitely jaded my feelings in this one. But that's a P2. That's a very solid result. I want to check out a couple of the incidents that did happen here, and we're going to jump over that right now. So here is the biggest incident of the day here. You can see that the braking ahead was just done a little bit too late there, that red and black car. And you could just see the Constantina effect with 4 cars involved there. And you can see us charge up to the back here. And that's definitely not the way you need to take turn 1. So here you can see another incident. The black, white, and green car just getting onto the grass and getting spun around by the all-green car. And you can see our friend, the number 7, tipping a tire into the grass to get around as well. And here, once again, we can see our friend, the 12 car. We saw this in the race. Just a little too eager, a little too aggressive, and gives the number 4 car a nice little love tap. And around goes the number 4 car. And here we can see the number 12's final mistake here, running wide up off that uphill. A little bit of a tank slapper, and around he goes into the grass. And just here in a moment, you'll see us pass him for the final time here in this one. That's what I talk about. You got to be consistent. And here we go. We weren't able to see this on the replay, but here's the number 7 car. We dive up the inside. They try and take a nice wide line to get a good run. Just a little too eager on the gas, and around they go. And that's all they wrote for the number 7. So here we are at the results screen here around VIR. We ended up being in the 7th split out of a lot of splits. It's the most splits I've seen in an MX5 Cup race in a very long time. But as you can see, we end up gaining 0.15 safety rating and 75 I rating in this one. One of our biggest gains we've seen in a long time. I'm very excited to see this one go down. I've really enjoyed the MX5, and I think I've definitely benefited from driving the Porsche 992 Cup car a lot lately, that this one felt much easier to drive. As you can see, I end up gaining the most I rating here at plus 75, and unfortunately, down there towards the bottom, Vincent ends up losing the most with minus 89. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun. I do love the MX5, going back to it when I can, and we're definitely going to be bringing more to it to the channel as time goes on. But the Porsche 992 Cup series just has my heart right now in a vice grip, and getting better at that car is just a lot of fun. But we're going to bring other series here soon. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.